Hi guys, Dr. YouTube here. I made the video about Scalia earlier about how he got killed. This is it. Check this out. Remember to like and subscribe to my channel, guys. XCon TV, but 7, the truth will free you 7. Dr. YouTube Tucker. There's also my Timothy Tucker channel.
Some of those devices which would have enabled the CIA to use this poison for killing people. Does the target know that he's been hit and about to die?
A special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
As a murder instrument, that's about as efficient as you can get, isn't it?
It is a weapon, a very serious weapon.
So that's William Colby, the then director of the CIA, talking to the church committee hearings. There also were House committee hearings by Pike. He said they had a heart attack gun 41 years ago. They could use it to take out political enemies. But of course, the CIA was very embarrassed about that. They're not even embarrassed about their disposition matrix, about the policies of assassination. So it's a legitimate question to ask, what happened to Supreme Court Justice Scalia? I want to go back and put some of this in context. We want to put the death of Scalia in context with what's going on with political issues that are coming before the Supreme Court. There was a major issue that happened last week, and I was going to talk about it when I was on the radio earlier in the week, but we never got around to it. There's just so much news that was breaking. There was a massive issue that came about with climate change, something that the Supreme Court was involved in, putting a stay on the new rules from the EPA, saying we're not going to implement those, we're going to take a little bit longer to take a look at this, and of course that's now going to go to a very liberal D.C. Circuit Court. So we're going to break down what that's about. We're also going to take a look at what the GOP is saying. Instantly, Mitch McConnell said, well, we're not going to appoint somebody in this section. We've got a presidential election that we're in the middle of. We're going to wait and see what the people say. We're going to let the next president appoint the replacement for Justice Scalia. The Democrats are very furious about that. Obama says he's going to introduce somebody. So it remains to be seen whether or not the GOP is going to have the backbone to stand up and do something about that. Remember that when they came through with the Paris Climate Accord, we heard all kinds of tough talk from the GOP Senate. They said, well, we're going to have something to say about that. It was only 3 days later that they did have something to say about it. They totally caved. Remember that they completely funded it as part of the omnibus bill that they ran through. So that lasted for all of 3 days. Will they be able to hold off until after the election for this appointment? What does it mean if they don't hold off? But first, I want to take a look at some of the breaking news about his death. We have an article on Infowars.com, which also references the Washington Post. Texas judge turns down a Scalia autopsy. Now, also, the family was also not interested in doing that. But this was a local judge. Remember, this is in a very, very remote part of Texas. I was just there last week. And when you go down to the Big Bend Park, you are hours and hours away from anything. It's about as remote as anything you're going to find in the United States. There's no cell phone service. There's no data service. Not even in the hotels where we were staying could we get any kind of data or telephone service. So this is a Presidio County judge, Cinderella Guevara. That's actually her name, Cinderella Guevara. She called up and she says, well, were there any signs of foul play? And they said no. So she said she called Scalia's doctor, who informed her that Scalia had visited him for a shoulder injury last week, but he also suffered from several chronic ailments. And so then she just said, we're not going to do an autopsy. I'm not even going to look at the body. How about that? So the judge, who did not see the body, indicated on his death certificate that it would be from a heart attack. Let me read you from the Washington Post how they phrase this. They say, of course, he died, yet the details of his sudden death trickled in on Sunday. As they did, it appeared that the hours afterward were anything but orderly. They say he was found dead in his room at a hunting resort by a ranch owner. It then took hours for the authorities in remote West Texas to find a justice of the peace, officials said Sunday. When they did, she pronounced him dead of natural causes without seeing the body and decided not to order an autopsy. A second justice of the peace, who was called but couldn't get to his body in time, said she would have ordered an autopsy. That's from the Washington Post. Okay? Now,
You see where the scam is, guys?
I would want to know, said Juanita Bishop, a justice of the peace in Presidio, Texas. As late as Sunday afternoon, there were conflicting reports about whether or not an autopsy would be performed, though officials later said Scalia's body was being embalmed. There would be no autopsy. One report by WFAA-TV in Dallas said the death certificate would show death by heart attack. So I guess that's it. You know, we saw the liberal press come out and say, oh, Scalia died. 3, 2, 1, conspiracy theories. Now, let me play for you a conspiracy fact from 41 years ago. I played this at the beginning of the broadcast. As I said, many of you may not have heard it. I want to play a little bit more of this again. This is 41 years ago. The Frank Church Committee hearings about abuses by the CIA. Frank Church is talking to William Colby, who was then director of the CIA. And listen to what they're talking about in terms of heart attacks.
So I had to find, one time they wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack, that would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing.
Does this pistol fire the dart?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman. And a special one was developed which potentially
I think that's what they used at Scalia, guys,
the target without perception.
on that judge.
The poison was frozen into some sort of dart, and then it was shot at very high speed into the person. So when it reached the person, it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red dot on their body, which was hard to detect. There wouldn't be a needle left or anything like that in the person.
There you go, guys.